In a tomb outside Beijing, a woman lay buried for 20 years. Her body had not decayed. Her hair had not fallen. Her mouth was closed around something worth more than a city. In the summer of 1928, someone pried it open. What he took out of her mouth was not the worst thing she had done. It was not even close. Tonight, I open a scroll I did not want to write. For 47 years, this woman ruled 400 million people. What she did inside her palace walls was hidden, denied, and burned for 100 years. The truth came out anyway. Her name was Cixi. They called her the Old Buddha. This is case file number 4. She walked into the palace at 17. She had 3 years to make the emperor remember her name. After 3 years, no concubine ever rose again. So this is what she did. Every morning before sunrise, 2 young mothers were brought to her room. Their bodies were wrapped in red silk, shoulders to ankles, only their breasts left bare. They knelt beside her bed, and she drank from them. Every night, she rubbed a paste of bird droppings into her face, imported from the south, ground fine, mixed with rice water. She believed it would make her skin glow. She ate ground pearls in her tea. She bribed the emperor's eunuchs to learn which path he would take through the gardens. And one afternoon, at the right corner of the right hallway, she stood with orchids in her hair and started singing. He stopped to listen. A year later, she was pregnant. A year after that, she had a son. When her husband died, the boy was 5. The lowest concubine in the palace was now the mother of the next ruler of 400 million people. She was 26. She had not even started. There was just one problem. The dying emperor did not trust his wife. He named 8 men to rule on his deathbed. None of them her. She had 2 months. She found allies, the dead emperor's brother and the senior empress. Both had been pushed aside. On the day the imperial coffin entered Beijing, soldiers loyal to her appeared at every gate. 3 of the 8 were executed. 2 were ordered to kill themselves. 3 were stripped of every title and exiled. She was 26. She had been in power for 8 weeks. She had not yet killed anyone she had loved. The boy grew up. By the time he was 17, he had married the one woman his mother hated most. Her name was Arute. She knew exactly who Cixi was. One morning, Cixi walked into her son's bedroom and found Arute reading aloud to him. Cixi told her to stand and bow. Arute stood, but did not bow. And then Arute said this, "I came through the front gate. You came through the side." A wife came in through the front. A concubine came in through the side. Cixi did not yell. She did not strike her. She nodded once and left. 2 weeks later, she ordered the emperor and his wife to live apart, for the sake of his studies. They had been married 5 months. A eunuch took him into Beijing one night, then another night. Then the emperor became a regular at the brothels behind the markets. 6 months later, red sores appeared on his skin. He had syphilis. His mother sent the doctors away. What happened next was not written down by the official historians. It was written down by the servants who watched it, and by the doctors she had sent away. None of them were allowed to speak of it for 40 years. She told the court it was smallpox. She removed every mirror from his bedroom. She forbade anyone from telling him what was wrong with him. The sores became scabs. The scabs became holes. His nose collapsed inward. His teeth fell out, first the front, then the back. His hair came loose in handfuls. He stopped recognizing his own face in the polished metal of his wash basin. His mother had it taken away. "What is happening to my skin?" he asked his servants every morning. They could not answer. He asked his physicians. They had been replaced. He asked his mother. She told him not to worry. He died at 19, asking the same question. No one in the palace was allowed to give him the answer. The day he died, his wife Arute was 8 months pregnant. If she had a boy, Cixi was finished. 2.5 months later, Arute was found dead. The official cause was grief. She had supposedly stopped eating after her husband died. The unborn child died with her. That same week, Cixi adopted a 3-year-old nephew and put him on the throne. She had a new emperor on the throne, 3 years old. Easy to control. Almost easy. There was still one woman in her way. The senior Empress Dowager, her partner from the coup. She still outranked Cixi. In 1881, the senior empress rode horses every morning. No record of illness. One afternoon, Cixi sent her a small box of pastries, homemade, a gift between sisters. She ate one. By that evening, she was vomiting blood. By the next afternoon, she was dead. The official cause was a stroke. The court physician who attended her sudden death disappeared from the records that same year. Cixi was the only ruler of China now. What she had done so far was nothing. The old Buddha was about to begin. While everyone close to her kept dying, this is how she lived. She ate 2 meals a day, 150 dishes per meal. She tasted a few. The rest went to the dogs or into the trash. A single one of her meals fed 10,000 peasants for a day. She owned 3,000 silk robes. That is more than one new outfit a day, every day, for 8 years. She wore most of them once. She owned a cape stitched with 3,500 pearls, each one the size of a sparrow's egg. The cape weighed 17 pounds. A single pearl from that cape could have fed a working farmer's family for a year. She had 3,500 of them. If a maid pulled out one strand of her hair while combing it, the maid was beaten. If 2 strands came out, the maid was killed. The maids learned to wear robes with very wide sleeves. When a strand came loose, they let it slide down inside the fabric before the empress could see. If a maid coughed in her presence, the maid was forced to eat human waste. She had eunuchs swim into the lake to put live fish on her hook so she would never come back from a fishing trip empty-handed. She owned silk. She owned pearls. She owned men, too. Every night, a new one was brought to her chambers, selected for face, for height, for skin. The same way she selected silk. The eunuchs had a phrase for them: tonight's flower. In the morning, the flower was gone. The body was carried out the back gate before dawn. The official explanation was always the same. They had volunteered to become eunuchs and had not survived the surgery. No one ever counted them. The lowest estimate is in the hundreds. She did all of this while her empire was on fire. She had not noticed yet. In 1894, China went to war with Japan. That same year, Cixi turned 60. Out by the lake at her summer palace, craftsmen were finishing a marble boat, 2 stories tall, 650 feet from end to end. A boat that could not move. A boat that would never sail. She paid for it with the Navy's budget. You can still visit it today. While she was finishing her boat, Japanese ships were sinking the Chinese fleet because the Chinese gunners had run out of shells and were loading dried beans into their cannons instead. China lost the war. China lost Taiwan. China owed Japan 200 million silver coins, roughly 100 years of state revenue. Cixi turned 61. She held a smaller party than she had planned. The marble boat was ready on schedule. 6 years later, Beijing fell. In the summer of 1900, 8 foreign armies marched on the capital. Cixi was packing. She was taking the emperor with her. She was leaving most of the women behind, but there was one woman she had to deal with first. Her name was Jen, the Pearl Consort. The emperor had loved her since she was 13. She was 24 now. 2 years earlier, she had backed the emperor's plan to remove Cixi. It had failed. Cixi had not forgotten. Cixi had Jen brought before her. The emperor was watching. "The foreign soldiers will be in the palace within a day," Cixi said. "They will not be kind to young women. You know what you must do." Jen looked at her. Jen said this: "Then let the emperor stay in Beijing to negotiate.
Let me die for him here." That was the wrong answer. Cixi gestured to two eunuchs. The eunuchs picked Jen up. The emperor said nothing. The first well they tried, Jen grabbed the marble railing and would not let go. They had to pull her hands off, finger by finger. The second well was smaller, narrower, behind the back gate of the palace. The opening was 13 inches across. They forced her in feet first. Then, they sealed it shut with a stone. By morning, Cixi and the emperor were on the road out of Beijing, disguised as peasants. Jen's body stayed in that well for 2 years. When Cixi finally allowed it to be recovered, the body had been underwater so long, it was covered in moss. The well is still in the Forbidden City today. After Cixi came back to Beijing, she had the opening narrowed, small enough that a child could not fall in. She told the workmen it was for safety. The palace eunuchs said something else. They said the empress had become afraid that something would come back out of it.
The emperor she had adopted as a 3-year-old was now a man. He had stood beside her at the well. He had said nothing. He never recovered from it. After they returned from exile, Cixi locked him on a small island in the middle of a lake inside the palace. A house surrounded by water. A guard on every bridge. He stayed there for 10 years. In 1908, Cixi was 73. She had ruled for 47 years. She was dying. Her stomach had been failing for months. Her doctors knew she had weeks, maybe days. And Cixi knew something else. If she died first, the emperor would be free. The man she had locked on an island for 10 years would walk out and remember everything. He would remember the wife she had thrown into the well. He would remember the friends she had executed. He would remember her face. So before she died, she had one more order to give. On the 14th of November, the day before Cixi died, the Emperor of China was found dead on his island. The official cause was illness. For 100 years, no one could prove anything. Then, in 2008, Chinese scientists tested his hair, his stomach lining, and the clothes he had been buried in. They found arsenic, 2,400 micrograms per gram of his hair, about 2,000 times the lethal dose. He had been killed. She had killed him from her deathbed. The next day, she died herself. Her last words, recorded by the court, were these: "Never again allow a woman to hold supreme power in this state." 20 years after she died, soldiers broke into her tomb. They took her cape. They took her rings. They pried her jaw open and took the pearl from her mouth, a pearl that was said to glow in the dark. It has never been found. The last thing she ever owned was taken out of her mouth by a soldier she had never met. Case file number 4, closed. The china shelf is empty. If there is a name, any country, any century that history left unfinished, leave it on my desk. I will open the file.